everyone, it's Jackie at Spare Room Studio, and today I'm going to complete this page from Story of Precious Cats by Nelco Neco. And before I get started, I just wanted to show to you that if you've watched part 1 and 2, you would have seen the copious amounts of water that I used on the page with the watercolour and the koi colouring brush pen, and I don't have one bit of bleed through on the back of that page, which is rather surprising to myself. I thought perhaps some of that darker green may have bled through because I just had so much water on those areas that I was pretty sure it was going to bleed through, so I'm pleasantly surprised that it hasn't. Just the usual disclaimer that please don't take that as a given that it's going to happen for every page. Do some tests and check in your own book first if bleed through is a problem that you just don't want to have in your books. Personally, I was prepared for it, and so it didn't really bother me greatly, but I'm pleasantly surprised that it did not bleed through. So what I'd like to do today is get on with it and finish this one. Sorry, there's a bit of dog hair. It's a bit of a occupational hazard when you own a dog. Mostly it's going to be some embellishments. I think this is looking pretty good the way that it is. I like the intensity of the colour. Maybe just a little bit. We'll go in with the brush pen and just darken some areas up and give it a little bit of extra definition. This may not show up on the camera so much, but it is for me in real life, and it will probably show up on a photograph. So once again, if you're on Instagram and you'd like to see a closer look at the finished page, then check it out on Instagram. It will appear there. So I'm just going to use that brush pen just to sort of do some very light strokes of colour, just to give it a little bit of shade and definition. Now with markers, brush pens and so on, you can achieve that really finely graduated blend if you work at it, but it's also quite acceptable to just have some very graphic shading. So, you know, they're graphic markers really, so not everything needs to have a very, very finely blended, graduated shadow or blends. You know, play around and just, if you think about graphic novels, manga, however you like to pronounce that word. If you think about those sorts of illustration styles, they're quite often done digitally, so they could have very graphic shading like this, or they could be very finely blended as well. You can achieve that with obviously with digital illustration programs and software now. But the thing is, you know, there's lots of choice, and so we can actually do that too with our colouring practice ourselves. We don't have to do everything the same way, and we can experiment and play around. So that's what I'm going to do there. I'm just going to leave it sort of fairly graphic, I suppose, and I'll get that iris. Now I diluted this area with water and used it with the brush, so bringing back in this brush pen and working directly onto the paper with it is going to give me a much more deeper, vibrant colour, which is going to be great for those sort of shadow areas that I want. So you know, it's not hugely different, it's just a couple of shades darker. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to mess around too much with it. And we might just put a little bit of detail back into here. And let's have a think, what else? I know once I go in with my Jelly Roll Metallics that I'm at great risk of smudging things, because that's what I always do. So I'm going to use the little brush pen here just to do a few little details on the roses as well. I did all this with the watercolour, mix of the watercolour paint and the brush pen diluted yesterday. I'm actually back the day later to finish this off. And I'll just bring in a little bit of orange as well. So and what I might also do with that is just add in a little bit of yellow. That is just called yellow. And I emptied out my palette, and all the yellow that I had mixed up in the watercolour has gone now. I don't really want to make it too wet because you know, we're at this end stage now and I want to put all the embellishments on. If I make it wet, I limit my movements again and what I can do. So you can, with your watercolours, combine other things with them as well. So I've kept to the Sakura products for this one because I'd like to enter this for the hashtag that Jamie at Jamie's Colouring Love has got this month for focusing on your Asian books and Asian artists. And I figured that this is a Japanese book. I think it's Japanese. I apologise profusely if I've got that wrong. But I just thought it might be nice, you know, to have that little theme going. And I used this warm grey here for the cat, and I'm just going to put a few little details back in here as well. I diluted that on the plate, so this is just going to look a little bit darker and give a few details. And I've missed her little nose there. I didn't use black on the pupil here yesterday. I just used this dark warm grey, and that's what I'm going to use on the nose as well. I don't really want that stark black. Come back with the warm grey down here. Now this particular drawing is quite whimsical, and so I think I'd like to keep the colouring style very loose and whimsical for this one as well. I could come in coloured pencils and put in lots of details and all of that, but I don't really think that it's warranted this page. So I have some Jelly Roll Metallic, Jelly Roll Glaze and Jelly Roll Moonlight. Some of these products were provided to me by Sakura Australia and some I have purchased myself. So I'm going to use a combination of those. I think for the playing card itself, I'd like to put some metallic on there. And I'm actually going to use this one. It's like a metallic black, but it doesn't come out like a solid black. So I'm going to put that around the edge of the playing card. And I have asthma, and I've taken some asthma medication this morning that's made me feel like I've got the shakes a little bit, so my hands feel like they're a little bit shaky. Try not to go out of the lines. So what I like about this is it's not really a solid black. It's sort of more like a charcoal, but when the light hits it right, you get that nice metallic shine with it. The detail on the card itself, I think we'll go for something different. I'm going to use gold on her crown and some of these details, gold and silver. So maybe with the playing card I could come in with, it's not really a red. That one's more like a burgundy, but we'll go with that one. We'll try that one. It's like a deep red. So I'll try to stay in the lines. So I think in total it's about an hour or so that I spent colouring this page yesterday, maybe that. So it's a good example, this one, of if you want to keep your details nice and loose and light, you do save a lot of time if your goal is to get a page completed and you don't have a lot of time up your sleeve, or you just have a short attention span for doing these things. Think about using water-based products like watercolour and diluted markers, because it really speeds things up. Even if you're going to come back with coloured pencil now, it is going to be a lot quicker than if you did the whole page from scratch with coloured pencil. So a marker or a water-based product wash for a base colour will really, really speed things up for you. You'll be amazed at how much quicker things can be. And obviously there are pages that you really want to put the effort in, you want to put a lot of detail into, and you want to do, you know, a really polished page. But there are some of these pages, like this particular one, that you know, you can get away with having a nice loose washy page every now and again. Not every single page needs to be a masterpiece or a work of art. And I've found, since I've let go of some of that, that I'm starting to really get through some of my books now. Starting to make some headway with actually getting a decent amount of pages in the books coloured. And it is still satisfying, it is still enjoyable. You know, I still look at the pictures at the end of it if I flick through the book, and I'm still enjoying looking at those pictures, even though they're not all highly polished, completed pages. So if you're feeling the pressure of, you know, you have to have pages that look like that all the time, and it's slowing you down and you feel like colouring is a chore, just have a go through your books, look for some simple pictures that you like. You know, you're going to enjoy colouring them. I'm not saying you just have to colour for the sake of colouring, but you can still get enjoyment out of them and not be spending hours at a time on the one picture. Now, I still have some that I really want to do that with, and when I'm in the mood, I've just gone and done exactly what I said I shouldn't do. I've smudged all that by putting my hand on the wet ink. Completely forgot about that. Never mind. It's just the pitfalls of working with gel pens sometimes. You've got to remember where you've put the colour. While that's drying, I've just realised I haven't done the rose bush here, so I'll put a bit of colour on here while we're waiting for that bit to dry. If you're feeling totally fulfilled by your hobby and you're not having any concerns at all about what you're doing, then don't change anything. You know, what is that saying? You don't break what isn't, no, you don't fix what isn't broken, or something like that. I've ended up using the same colour there. Geez, I'm not with it today, I'm sorry. I'm a bit all over the place here. You know, if you're happy with the way things are going with your practice, then don't change a thing. However, if you are feeling dissatisfied and you are feeling stressed or under pressure to perform, you're feeling under pressure to get things done, if you're like me and you see that growing collection of books and thinking, you know, am I ever going to get through all of these books, and you want to speed things up a little bit, just give that little bit of thought to how could I do that? Would this be something that will help you achieve all your goals? And if it is, then give it a go. I'm really pleased that I started to loosen some of the expectations, because personally I am enjoying these play pages. I am enjoying messing around with the supplies that I have, just to see what I can get out of them with my limited space, my limited working arrangement at the moment. I'm finding ways of getting the best out of these products that I've got handy to me, and I am enjoying it. I'm achieving what I want, but I am still enjoying it. So that's just my little tip for today. Now, I know I'm doing a lot of ums and ahs and so on. Try not to do that, but it is really difficult sometimes. Today the brain just feels like it's on a bit of a time lapse. It's not working well today. The brain and the mouth are not syncing very well. So, get some gold in here for the crown. And you know, sometimes you get those playing cards that, well, we used to have a set years ago. Well, my mum and dad did. I don't know where that set would be now, but I remember them having some playing cards that were really nice. They had lots of gold on them, and you know, you used to get playing cards sometimes that had fabulous artwork on them, which was as much fun for me to look at it as it was playing the games, because I think even as a child I must have intuitively just enjoyed looking at art and illustration. It just seems to be something that has fascinated me for a long time. I'm also a sucker for packaging. So if something's got really good eye-catching graphic art on their packaging, I will get sucked into buying it. And perfect example, which makes my husband laugh, is wine labels. If we happen to be in the bottle shop and we're looking for something, to try that's a little bit different, I have been known to buy bottles of wine just because I like the wine label. Very sad, but it's true. Just as I do bizarre things, like if I'm going to have a bet on a horse race, I quite often might be swayed by the colours that the horse and the jockey have on them, or a funny name will get my attention, and I don't look at boring stuff like their track record or, you know, any of those other meaningful details. And I just look at the colours of what they're wearing, the patterns, and whether they've got an amusing name or a name that has some relevance to me. And hence, I'm not very successful at picking winners. So I'm thinking I like the gold with red in particular, but I think that some silver or some other sort of metallic might look nice in here as well. Particularly on this part of her dress, maybe. We've got all that detail in there. I'm definitely going to use it here. Now I've got this, you know, great set of Jelly Roll metallics here, but quite often my go-to is the gold, the silver, and that black that I used. I don't tend to go for the colour, these colour ones very often. I don't know if anyone else is the same. So buying sets of colours are handy budget-wise sometimes, but not if you don't tend to use all the colours. So I think in future I might go back to buying some open stock, you know, single pens, because I do like the gold and the silver in these Jelly Roll metallics. They do work really nicely. I think I'll go for gold here. And in the centre of her flower there. No rhyme or reason to this. This is just personal taste, a lot of this stuff. This is a purple metallic, and I think I'm just going to go for the collar of the dress here. And I think that might be nice for some of these details actually, because I've got purple in the dress in the colours already. And this will just add that little bit of extra shine when I move the page. It won't show up on camera probably, and it won't show up on a photograph, but when I'm flipping through the book, I'm going to see a little, you know, a little sheen of light get reflected from here, which will be nice. So sometimes doing these little embellishments can take as long as the rest of the page. And that just highlights just how quick some of that background was to do. I think we'll match those shapes here with the metallic. Hey Mish, you good boy? You good boy? For some reason he's looking spooked all of a sudden. This dog has supersonic hearing, I'm sure of it. Okay, how's that looking through the camera? Not too bad. And rather than bring in silver, I'm going to stick with the same sort of shades. I think we'll go for this colour here, which is a bit more like a copper. It's a bit more of an orangey metallic rather than the gold. I can hear some noise outside now, and I'm wondering if that might be the Amazon man. I'm expecting a Amazon delivery. So perhaps that's what Hamish has heard. I know we've also got a mower man doing next door's garden as well. And I think, let's have a look. Might go for some more shininess here. I don't normally put this much embellishment on a page, but I think, oh, I've done it again. Geez, I'm terrible. I don't normally put this much embellishment on a page, probably for those reasons that I keep smudging it, which is a real nuisance. I might get a white acrylic paint pen and try to disguise some of that later. But, you know, this is real life. This is stuff that does happen. We all do it. It's not the end of the world. And I might just do in between these little squares. There's going to be a bit of white show, but that doesn't matter. I do wish in the metallics you could get a really true red in a metallic, because the reds tend to not look like a real red, but I think a metallic red would have been nice to do on the, you know, the Queen of Hearts symbols, you know, like a gold foiling. But I've never found a gold metallic pen, a red metallic pen that really looks that great. So if anyone knows of one that's like a very true red but metallic, let me know. I'm guessing perhaps some of those new acrylic paint pens that come out in metallics might have something in there. Been trying not to go down that rabbit hole though. There's a little bit there that I missed. I think I might leave those little flowers white, just because. And I'm not sure about whether the background here needs something of the card. That might be something I sit on for a while and think about. You know, I'm wondering whether there needs to be a soft colour behind her there instead of just white, or go around the edge of the card there in something that might be more suitable. If I decide to do that, you'll see that in the completed pages, or you'll see it on Instagram. So I think now what I'm going to do is just possibly add a little bit of something in here to make this more detailed, that more washy. So what have we got? We've got yellow green. Just move that up and you can see it a little bit better. It's a little bit indistinct here. what's going on. So I'm just going to do a little bit of detail there, hopefully, to make that a bit clearer what is going on. And I'm going to leave that little bit there a bit lighter. I might possibly pick up a white pencil or a white acrylic paint pen. I don't have one with me here, although we do have white in this set. So what I might do is just get that brush wet. I'm going to lift a little bit of white and see that. Actually I do, I have white jelly roll here as well. I forgot about that. And I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of white down here. Would that in fact cover that? It does. So I don't really want a lot of water, I want more pigment. And I've said before that I'm not a fan of doing this on watercolour, but if you've gone too heavy, you need to try and find something, don't you, to lighten it back up again. It's going around that bit that I smudged. I'm just going to do a bit of random sort of dots and squiggles and so on. It's not going to be detail. So what I've done is I've got the wet brush and I'm using the wet brush on the dry pan. That was a suggestion that Waymeyer in my comments had, that instead of wetting the pan, just use your damp brush to lift a little bit of colour off, like I do when I'm using the tips of the pencils, and just do that, and it's working. It is a great suggestion, thank you. I hadn't given that a thought at all prior to now, so thank you for passing that little tip on. Really do appreciate that. And so that's quite opaque what I'm putting on there, and I don't really want to risk going too heavy, so we'll try not to do too much of it, but just, you know, some little touches of it here and there just to give it a bit of lift. And I think that might be enough. And I think I might leave it there, you know. I'll bring you back down. I feel like, if anything, there will be possibly some colour around the edge there where the Q and the heart is. Maybe a darker colour. And leave this mostly white. I think that would be better. In fact, that might be nice in the light purple, or what have I got in the brush pen? Possibly this light purple might look really nice, or what have I got in this one here? Lavender. I might have a think about that off camera. this out and have a look. That's quite dark. It's the lavender, and I think there is a purple as well. If you could see my table at the moment, it looks like an absolute bomb has hit it. It is crazy with pens and brushes and pots and... So that's the 3 colours that I've got there. I'm considering using this colour. Yeah, let's go for it. What are we up to? 35 minutes. Trouble is, that is still quite wet. So I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but I'm going to turn that to the side. So I want to avoid this white bit that I've got down here. It might just give you an idea how quick these pens are as well. So what I try to do is I try to get started there. When you're doing a long line like this, try to think about you're not moving your hand. You know, you're not moving your hand like this, you're moving your whole arm and wrist when you're going along a long area. And if you can do that, practice doing that, you'll get a nice smooth line, hopefully. Now you can see how quick that was just to do that area. And I'm not even doing that with a very steady hand today. That's a very, very wobbly hand that I've got. So let's come down this way. Now this will take a few layers to get a nice even coat. Now, I don't know if you can see that I'm actually dragging my whole hand towards me with my arm. That's a whole arm movement, it's not a hand movement. And personally, I have much better control of a pen coming towards me than I do a pen going away from me. I'm guessing, I don't know this for sure, but I'm guessing that most of us would be the same. We have a preference of the most comfortable way that our hand moves. And whether you're left or right will have a lot to do with that as well. Now I know that this is going to need another coat over it, another layer. So it's a little bit haphazard the way I'm doing it, but I'm still trying not to do too many strokes. We'll come back up to this way now. So it's not a really hard pressure that I'm putting on this pen, but it is firm, and I'm letting that brush splay out a little bit to give me a wider block of colour. But I'm hoping that you can see just how quickly that brush can colour in an area. So you don't need to rush it. Try to think about starting at one edge and then keep continuously working in the same direction if you can. Now, obviously with a shape like this, that's going to be really hard. Let's get rid of that out of my hand, and then I can hold my book steady. So I'm going to pull that down towards me. See how going away I'm feathering more because I'm not sure of my control over the brush. But when I come from this direction, I seem to have much more control over my hand and my brush. There's probably a reason for that, but I don't know it. So how does that look? She's certainly standing out now, isn't she? So the statement is that card supported by the background, and that's really what I wanted. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll finish that next layer, I'll let that dry, finish that next layer, but basically the page is finished. It's not looking too bad from there, but you will see the streaks when I lift the page up for you. So you can see that there's quite a bit of streaking where I went over the top of things there. Now that's looking quite blue through the camera, but in real life it's actually purple. Now some of these watercolour-y type effects, you can see where I brought that bit of white in down there. I'm not a huge fan of that myself. It would have been better if I'd left natural highlights in the paper. You know, lifted colour off more like I did there. You can see some of those watercolour effects. Sorry for knocking the camera a bit there. And then if I can get this book in a little bit, it's quite a big book. So you can see there, that was where I lifted off that excess, very wet excess colour with the paper towel, and that's how that dried. You can see the way the colour has blended. Now these watercolours don't feel chalky. When you're using them, they really don't have that chalkiness about them out of the pan. The paper here does feel very slightly like it's got some sort of texture now since that watercolour is on it, but it's certainly not rough, not like some watercolours that I've used out of pans. This does not have that chalky feeling about it. So there you go, there's our Queen of Hearts. I think, yeah, if anything, I will just do that extra layer around there, which you will see on the finished pages, but we have absolutely no bleed through on this page whatsoever. Nothing at all has come through, and that really does surprise me with that level of water that I had on there. I really did feel like that was going to make a mess, but it didn't. So that's really nice to know. I might be using these more often for backgrounds. If they're not going to bleed through, they're ideal. So that's the Koi watercolour pocket filled sketch box, 24 colours. They're half pans, It comes with a refillable water brush and 2 sponges. Some instructions there of how you can use it. And information about it, but that's what the box looks like if you're looking at buying some in a store and don't know what to look for. And that is what they look like. It's a really nice little handy sized case if you like to go out and paint on site, or I'm thinking if you're going away and you don't want to take a lot of materials with you, you can, take a little watercolour set like this and be mixing colours and so on. And then the pens are now all over the place, but that is the packaging for the Koi colouring brush pen in the 12 colour set. In the first video I did tell you what all the colours were, or are. And that's what the pens look like. So I've had a lot of fun doing this one. I've also used the Jelly Roll Metallic. I didn't end up using any of the Moonlight or the glaze pens that I've got at this stage. We'll see what it's like when it dries, but I really quite like that simple metallic shine that I've got there. That's enough bling for me with the card, I think. Maybe we'll see what we can do over here, but maybe the glazed pen on there might make it shine. Shall we try that? It's not really red though. I think that's the closest to red. Yeah, they call that gloss red. Let's give it a go. Let's quickly do that before I let you go. I bought these ones myself, purchased these ones myself. They're really expensive here in Australia, the glazed pens, so I think I got a special deal or something on Amazon and picked them up for a good price, but I do like them. I just wish they were more readily available. Now, are we going to be able to get that shine to show? Yeah, a little bit. So that will look better. I think once I do that second layer of the purple, that shine, yeah, there you go. That shine will look nice against the dark purple. Okay, so there you go. There's our Queen of Hearts. The book is Story of Precious Cats. Really cute little book. And that's another page done and finished. So thank you so much for bearing with me with the technical difficulties and stretching this out to 3 parts. Really appreciate you watching. I think it's about 2 hours in total that I've spent colouring this page. I think that's a pretty decent result for 2 hours work. If I'd sat in one afternoon in one go, it would have been a really pleasant afternoon colour. So I appreciate you being here if you're still listening to me, and I will see you really soon in the next one. I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I will be back as soon as I can. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye now.